Hi everyone, welcome to another edition of NewsDabs with Jimmy Young. We go around the world, the country, and in our own backyard here in Massachusetts in search of the most impactful stories in the cannabis industry. We start in our nation's capital this week, Washington, D.C., where a historic hearing took place in a House subcommittee focusing on the opening of the banking industry to the cannabis business. For the first time, a standalone bill has been introduced to allow our nation's banks and credit unions to start to do business with the emerging cannabis world. However, don't bogart that ATM card just yet. While the proponents outnumbered the opponents at that hearing, there are already rumblings that the biggest hurdle remains cannabis's federal classification as a Schedule I drug. Many of our elected officials still can't just get past that drug classification thing. So, one step forward for weed and two steps backward for the cannabis world. Still, according to lobbyists, there's a better than 50-50 shot that the House will get something passed in order to ensure public safety and ease the cash burden on the new industry. This past week in Boston, the National Cannabis Industry Association made their first ever stop here in the Bay State for a Seed to Sale trade show. Connecting cannabis business to the banking industry was just one of the topics Cannabis Control Commissioner Chair Steve Hoffman talked about as the keynote interview with the NCIA's Steve Fox. Unlike many states, the new Massachusetts law dictates many of the decisions his commission must make.
So I don't feel like that we made a ton of decisions. There were some things that were open in the legislation. For instance, the legislature said we shall develop regulations for social consumption and home delivery. They didn't say what to do, when to do, how to do it. So there's some places that our judgment was required, but a lot of it was pretty prescriptive based upon the legislation.
Public hearings on social club consumption and delivery start this week in Massachusetts. During his time on stage, Commissioner Hoffman made it a point that there already are 3 financial institutions in the Bay State currently doing business with cannabis. One of those, Safe Harbor Private Banking, is located at the Gardner Federal Credit Union. Now, they were one of the 150 vendors who had a booth at the Seed to Sale show at the Heinz Auditorium. There, of course, you could find all sorts of industry-specific equipment, including customer service software, security, growing and extraction companies, and even a container that is child-proof but can still be opened by my arthritic fingers.
So it's real simple. You just put your palm down and turn. That way it helps with all arthritic hands. Real easy to get in and out of.
One of the most accomplished and successful entrepreneurs at this national event was the founder and CEO of Point 7 Consulting, Ashley Pachillo. A native of Franklin, Massachusetts, she has built a woman-owned and operated consultancy based in Denver, Colorado. In just 6 years, she has become one of the leading innovative minds and sought-after speakers in the cannabis industry. In her spare time, she even wrote a book called Breaking the Glass Ceiling: Women, Weed, and Business. I talked to her for an upcoming One-on-One in the Weeds podcast, and we both listened to Commissioner Hoffman's interview, and she is proud of his efforts in making sure her native state gets the rollout of cannabis right.
I've worked in 23 or 24 states now, and I mean, obviously I'm a little biased. I grew up here. I care a lot about Massachusetts, but I'm really, really proud of the way that this is coming together. And honestly, if there are delays and if things aren't moving as quickly as people believe they should, I truly believe that it's because this commission wants to get it right. And they really care about, not just putting this together as quickly as possible, but designing a model that can be followed and replicated.
Okay, time for the Massachusetts Sales Tote Board, now sponsored by our friends at Weed Maps, your go-to source for finding legal weed in your neck of the woods. Sales through February 10th, the 12th week of adult use sales in the Bay State, now up to $36 million. Last week alone, $4.2 million. And one more adult use facility has now opened. This week, it's in Hudson, Massachusetts, where you will find Temescal Wellness. They started their operations at 252 Coolidge Street. Temescal Wellness also has locations in Pittsfield and in Framingham, with Framingham the only remaining medical dispensary for Temescal Wellness. That may change soon. Now, while one dispensary has opened, Another one has been shut down for a number of violations. Mass Wellspring in Acton, Massachusetts, a medical marijuana facility, was issued a cease and desist order for dozens of violations, including inadequate security and not storing or disposing of their product in accordance to state regulations. Come on, Wellspring. Everybody in the state has the same rules and regulations. Some are reasonable and some not so much. But hey, don't screw up this rollout. Prohibitionists are still looking for the industry to mess up. So don't make it easy for them because these regulations are a little tough. So don't break them, embrace them. Finally tonight, Barney's Bongs. No, not the lovable big purple dinosaur, but the Shishi specialty store from New York, where weed isn't legal yet. It certainly is in Beverly Hills, California, though, and that's where Barney's Beverly Hills will be opening up a high store featuring the Bebo brand of cannabis. Now, you and I know it's a head shop, and no, they won't be selling any of the Bebo brand's strains of cannabis, but just about everything else. And why not? It's a whole new world of weed out there. I'm Jimmy Young, and this is NewsDabs. Here's a few cannabis community events in the greater Boston area over the next few weeks.